Good morning. As mentioned earlier, I'm Layman. I'm principal at Pinnacle Elementary School in Stokes County. I want to thank Representative Holloway and the committee for giving me the opportunity to speak. For the past few years, I've studied the new Common Core and Essential Standards. I've steadfastly insisted that I was neither for nor against the standards. I felt that it was too early to make that decision. However, I did have reservations from the beginning. I feared that we were moving too fast without the proper safeguards in place, such as true teacher input and field testing in real classrooms. I believe many of the fundamentally flawed aspects of the Common Core could have been corrected if standards had been tested and proven to be effective before being forced upon our students, parents, and teachers. We have no proof or evidence that the Common Core standards will yield any improvements in student outcomes. We are literally a nation and a state of guinea pigs. So the time has come for me to take a stand against the Common Core. The Common Core standards require students to think conceptually, creatively, critically, and to apply knowledge gained at a very high level. I can support that 100%. However, before a child can apply knowledge at a higher level, they must have a solid foundation in the basics. The massive number of standards and substandards in the Common Core make it virtually impossible for teachers to give students the necessary time needed to master the basics. For example, how can we expect fourth grade teachers to teach all number operations, an in-depth understanding of fractions, how to convert numerous systems of measurement, area and perimeter, geometry, and algebra at such a young age to mastery? It is unfair to ask a fifth grade student to solve rigorous, multi-step word problems if they lack basic number sense. Time needs to be given to students to ensure that they have a solid foundation in the basics so that they can be successful with more difficult concepts and applications at the middle and high school level. Time and time again, I hear parents and educators say, "I didn't learn about that until I was in middle or high school," and that is so true. Obviously, the idea is to require more of our students at an earlier age in order to prepare them for higher levels of education. This push-down philosophy poses a threat to the developmental appropriateness of early childhood education and to desired outcomes, not to mention what it does to disadvantaged student groups. I have no doubt that the Common Core standards will drastically increase the achievement gaps among different ethnic and racial groups, as well as students with disabilities and those with lower IQ and academic ability. All students can be successful when they are given extra time and support. For example, a child living in poverty often does not come with the background knowledge necessary to understand complex text. They can be successful once they are given experiences by the teacher to build that background knowledge. The Common Core does not allow students the gift of extra time and support, but rather demands that they perform at the same level as their economically and intellectually gifted peers. They are taught and tested at the same time, in exactly the same manner, and the outcomes are not usually positive. Testing results say to these students that they are a failure time and time again. Should we really be surprised when these struggling learners become discouraged and give up altogether? I'd like to give you just an analogy. Many of you in this room probably have children. The pediatrician said to you that your child would walk approximately between the ages of 9 months to 12 months. Your child might have walked at 9 months, 10 months, 11 months, even 13 months. My child walked at 15 months. My child runs and runs well in the 5th grade. We cannot expect all children to develop at the same rate at the same time. Reading, writing, and math are developmental. The Common Core does not allow for this. Much of the difficulty in carrying out the Common Core standards lies in the use of vocabulary. While it is important to expose our students to high-level vocabulary, we must be careful that the assessment of our students' knowledge is not lessened simply because they cannot interpret the meaning of certain vocabulary and therefore understand the questions. Very often, our students are able to comprehend, discuss, and apply a content with complete accuracy. However, due to the vocabulary used in the Common Core standards and thus on the EOG, they are not able to understand what the questions are asking. If they can understand the questions, they have the knowledge necessary to answer successfully. Unfortunately, this can lead to our teachers feeling that they must teach to the test in order to prepare students for the types of questions they will face based on the vocabulary used in the standards. This takes away from a teacher's ability to show students their knowledge in a variety of ways and for students to show their knowledge to us in a variety of ways, often limiting creativity and learning styles. A great deal of time and effort has been devoted to training teachers in North Carolina in the importance of collecting formative assessment data to guide and direct instruction. Teachers, in turn, have educated our parents on how formative assessment data can be used to determine if their child is on target to meet certain learning objectives and levels of proficiency. In our county, numerous students in grades 3 through 5 showed grade level proficiency throughout the year on valid and reliable formative assessments, such as Reading 3D, Scholastic Reading Inventory, ClassGate, state and county benchmark testing, and more. Some of these same students were not proficient on the end of grade test. For example, an on-grade level Lexile range for a 5th grade student is 700 to 1,000. A student in my school received his EOG student report back from the state of North Carolina, stating that his Lexile was 1,030, which is above grade level. However, the same test, found him to be a level 2 non-proficient reader. How can the same test determine his Lexile is above level, yet deem him a below grade level reader? When analyzing the pass-fail rate, it was very evident that students who passed the EOG were our above grade level students, based on formative assessment. We are now in the process of explaining this confusing data to our students and our parents. Current textbook resources and assessments do not align to the Common Core standards. One would think that individuals, companies, test creators, and others would have already created these, since the Common Core was adopted by the majority of states and the District of Columbia in 2010. Why do we not have quality documents and resources available? I believe the creators of these, like our educators, are still desperately scrambling to make sense of the standards and determine how to accurately teach and assess them. I commend our Department of Public Instruction for their efforts. They have worked diligently to provide our teachers with guiding documents, training, and other support to help them decipher the standards. Yet there is still much confusion by all stakeholders. The creators of these documents and resources are intelligent individuals. Should it really be this difficult? Perhaps you will better understand if I provide an example from a 4th grade math standard. Quote, solve multi-step word problems posed with whole numbers and having whole number answers using the 4 operations, including problems in which remainders must be interpreted. Represent these problems using equations with a letter standing for the unknown quantity. Assess the reasonableness of this answer using mental computation and estimation strategies, including rounding. That's one standard. Keep in mind that the wording found in that standard will also be the wording used on that child's EOG. I am concerned that these standards will cause a drastic decline in test scores, not just last year or this year, but in years to come. I fear success will not be attainable for a large percentage of North Carolina students, not because they are not capable, but because we are using standards that set many children, and as a result, many educators up for failure. Our goal as educators is to push every child to their maximum potential and for all children to experience success, so that we will develop a love of learning and a desire to continue to gain and apply new knowledge throughout their adult lives. Sadly, this drop in test scores will further undermine North Carolina's faith in the public school system. In closing, I want to make it very clear that I am in favor of high expectations for all students. My daughter is very gifted and does very well. She will do well with the Common Core standards. I also gladly acknowledge that we need to do a better job preparing our students for success in the 21st century. If I could impress upon you today just 3 thoughts. Number 1, the Common Core does not allow adequate opportunities for disadvantaged student groups to succeed. Number 2, the Common Core is not developmentally appropriate. Number 3, there is no statistical data to prove that the Common Core is effective and will yield our desired outcomes. On behalf of Stokes County Schools, students, and teachers, I ask that you initiate further analysis of the Common Core to determine if it will achieve the desired outcomes. Thank you.